We are now going to move on to talk about editing your photos and editing your video, to create a style and to put your story together. If you are using a smartphone to take your photos, then we'll be editing them in the Lightroom app, the same one that you took the photos in. We can also edit the photos in the Lightroom app too. To do this, click on the X on the top left-hand side of the app. We then need to select Lightroom Camera Photos. This will open our photo reel. You then select the latest photo that you took or the photo that you'd like to edit. You can see that as well as the photo, all of the different settings are displayed, including the shutter speed, the aperture and the ISO. On the bottom of the app, there are all of the different settings that you can adjust, including light, colour, details, geometry, and there are a number of presets too. We're going to start by cropping and rotating. So click on the crop tool and you can see that you can rotate the photo accordingly. I don't want to rotate this, so I'm just going to undo. By tapping and sliding, I can crop the image. And when I'm happy, I can click the tick on the bottom right of the app. Next, we're going to have a look at exposure. So tap on the light setting. Here, I can increase the exposure. You can see by sliding it down, it's underexposed. And by sliding it up, the image gets overexposed. When I'm happy with the correct exposure, I can let go of the slider. I can also adjust the contrast. A lower contrast will result in a grey image, and a higher contrast will add vibrance. There are other settings that you can adjust, including highlights, shadows, whites and blacks, and I want to adjust the highlights, just bringing them down a tad. I'm now looking at colour. Colour temperature is the amount of warmth or coolness. You can adjust this depending on the setting. I'm now going to look at the saturation, and by sliding it down to the left, I can make a black and white photo, and to the right, a vibrant photo. The last setting that I'm going to look at is in detail, and it's the sharpness of the photo. Sometimes camera photos aren't very sharp. They're not as high quality as a digital camera. I can slide the sharpening dial up to create a more sharp image. When I'm done, I can have a look at the resulting photo. When I want to save the photo, I click on the Save icon on the top of the screen. I'm then going to choose Export to Camera Roll. This might take a little time. When this is done, your edited photo will be saved to your camera roll, and you can email it and share it as you like. If you have used a digital camera, we're going to be using an online piece of software called Photor, which is free to sign up to. The information is now being displayed here on the bottom. We are now going to look at editing the photos that you took on your digital camera. But the first thing that we need to do is copy them off of your digital camera's memory. So copy and paste them into a folder called Scouts or Photography on a computer or laptop. For the editing, we're going to be using an online editing tool called Photor. Photor is free, but you do need to sign up. So make sure that you sign up before you get started. You can use your email address to do this, and it's very quick and simple. Once you've signed up, visit photor.com, which is www.photor.com, and you'll start to see this page. We're then going to click on Edit a Photo, which will open up the photo editing tool. To start with, we need to open our photo that we're going to edit. So to do that, we're going to click on this icon here, and a window will open. This is a photo that I took earlier of the Mr. Bean ornament, and this is the one I'm going to be editing for this demonstration. Click Open. The photo will then upload, and then you're able to edit it. Photor has a number of different tools and effects that can be used, so I urge you to get creative with the photos that you take. Looking at some of the basic editing tools that we're going to be using for the photography badge, we're going to start with the crop tool. And the crop essentially allows you to remove parts of the image by adjusting the different framing of the sliders here. So we want to remove some of this headroom at the top, so I'm going to drag this slider down. Just going to adjust this in just a tad. We can kind of make it a bit of a square photo. There we go. We can see that the Mr. Bean ornament is relatively in the centre of this frame. When I'm happy, I can click apply, and that will make all of those changes. So this is our new photo. Under the Basic tab, we can adjust the brightness, contrast, the saturation and the sharpness, which are the basic tools that we're going to be looking at. As you would have thought, the brightness does make an image brighter, or it makes an image darker. So if you have an underexposed image, you can brighten it up, or if your image is overexposed, you can dial it down a little bit. So for this, I'm going to increase the exposure just a little bit. The contrast is a setting that adjusts the richness of the blacks, the whites and the colours in your photo. So if I drag the contrast up here to the right, so I increase the contrast, you can see the colours getting richer. If I decrease the contrast, the image starts to go grey and it starts to go dull. Because I'd like to have an image with lots of interesting colours, I'm going to increase the contrast. The saturation will allow you to adjust the amount of colour that's in your image. So if you want to create a black and white image, you can decrease the saturation. If you want a rich and vibrant photo, then you can increase the saturation. I think we'll have that there. Sharpness is another setting that you can use, and like its namesake, sharpness increases the sharpening of the pixels, so you can start to see a little bit more detail as I increase the slider in. As I decrease this slider, you can see that the photo begins to get blurry. I'm going to increase the sharpness just a little bit. There are also some other settings that you can use. Under the Colour tab, you have the option to adjust the colour temperature and the tint. If you've taken a photo outside, your photo might naturally look quite warm, quite yellow or orange. However, if you've taken a photo indoors, it might look cool and green. You can adjust the colour temperature of the tint to suit the photo. So in this circumstance, I'm going to increase the colour temperature to make Mr. Bean look a little bit warmer. But the image starts to look a little bit green, so I'm going to adjust my tint, and as you can see, if I slide my tint to the right, I'm starting to add green, but if I take it away, I start to add some purple. So I'm going to adjust this just slightly. -4 should do. There are some other things that you can play with, like a vignette. So you can see the vignette being added at the at the sides of the photo. Let's have a small vignette on the sides, I think. And there are lots of other tools that you can add too. So you can add different effects. You can add frames. Let's see what a vintage frame looks like. You can see that as this is a paid for feature, you have to upgrade to remove the Photor watermark. So let's cancel that for now. Have a play around with your photos and use all of the different tools in Photor to experiment. When you're all done with your editing, we need to choose Save up here on the top. Click on the Save icon. We can then change the name of the photo. I'm going to change this to Mr. Bean. We can also select the file type. For this will be a JPEG rather than a PNG. And the quality. If we want a normal quality photo, we can select that. And if we want a higher quality photo, we can select that too. But you can see here the file size changes from a normal photo being 0.998 megabytes to a high quality photo being 1.66 megabytes. For this, I'm going to use a high quality photo. I'm now going to click download. You can see that the photo is downloaded to your downloads folder. You can now navigate to your downloads folder, and I'm going to have a look for it here in mine. It should be under Mr. Bean with an M. Here we are. So this is our edited photo that's now been downloaded onto our computer. I can now copy that by clicking Ctrl+C, and I can paste it into my photography badge folder. Remember that the photos that you take and edit will need to be sent to me for review to ensure that you get the badge. So keep hold of all of your photos. For video, we're going to be using iMovie to cut our stories together. One very important thing to remember with video is that although you may be used to filming content and uploading content onto Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat in portrait mode, the traditional technique for any kind of video or film is still in landscape mode. So please, when you are practicing and shooting your videos, remember to do this in landscape mode, so horizontally rather than in vertical portrait mode. I'm now going to edit the short clips that I just shot in my garden together using the iMovie app. Make sure that you've downloaded iMovie first, and then when you've got it, open it up. You'll be asked to create a new project. To do this, tap on the empty box with the plus sign in it. You can then select Movie. You'll then be prompted to select the shots that you would like for this video. I'm going to choose the ones that I took in my garden. You can select them by tapping on them, and you'll see the tick appear. I'm then going to click Create Movie down at the bottom of the app. This adds all of the different clips into a timeline that you can see here. One of the first tools that we're going to learn is the trimming tool. You can see where our tilt down begins. So where I begin tilting down from the blue sky, that's where I know I'm going to start. So I'm going to click on the clip in the timeline, and you can see that it highlights yellow. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to drag the end of the clip that I want to trim down, and you can see that this updates. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose around about there, which is just from where the beginning of the tilt begins. There we go. So I'm now going to go through and have a look at the different shots that I've got. Here I've got two shots that are very similar. But what I want to do is I want to remove the first one. So I'm going to tap on it, and I'm going to select Delete down at the bottom of the app. That deletes that shot, and it shifts the next one forward. This is quite a long shot, but you can see where I've tapped on the small glass ball so that it comes into focus and the background goes out of focus. So that's the point where I want to start my trim. What I'm going to do is tap on the clip, and again, selecting the end, I'm going to drag it down to the point where I want the clip to start. I begin a panning movement here, so I'm going to accept that as the beginning of my trim. Let's watch it through. I think I can probably trim that down a little bit more. That looks good. I've now got a shot of a plant, and here I zoom in. You can see the effect of the aperture on the background here, and it's quite a nice detailed close-up shot of the fern. Instead of the shot zooming out again, I want to finish the shot on the close-up. So I'm going to trim the clip, but instead of starting at the beginning, I'm going to tap on it and I'm going to trim it from the end. So by holding down on the yellow part at the end, I'm now going to trim from the backwards of the clip forwards. That will be a good out point. Now you can see that I'm adjusting the shot. So I want to trim that part at the beginning until the camera is steady. So I'm going to trim my shot to there. That's a nice finisher. So I'm now going to trim my shot down to that point there. Let's watch it through. We start with the tilt down as an introduction. We then have a pan with the subject in focus. The next shot uses a zoom. And now we have a close-up. And we can see that the background is out of focus. We trimmed the shot so the camera is steady. And that's going to be our end. You may have noticed that there are these small transitions that are between the clips. These transitions can be edited and changed as you wish. To do that, you tap on the transition and you get a few different options, from none, a theme, dissolve, slide, wipe and fade. Let's have a look at them. So to select none is a straight cut between the two shots. That looks a little bit strange. Maybe we can choose a theme. That one made a whoosh noise and it faded down to black and then faded in from black again, which might be a bit too dramatic for this. A dissolve fades between the two. A slide slides the next shot in from the left. A wipe comes in over the top. Then we have a fade, which fades down to black and then in again. I think for this we can use a wipe. The dissolve is nice here. Let's scroll through. And then I want to use just a straight cut, so no transition here. You can also adjust the speed, the volume of the clips, any text and any looks as well. It was quite windy out in the garden, so I might want to reduce my volume all the way down. We now don't hear any noise at all from the shot. However, if you do have people talking, you can boost up your volume. For this, and to keep the atmosphere, I'm going to reduce the volume down to 50%. Let's have a look at the different looks that we can apply. You can select this in the bottom right icon of the 3 circles, and then we can scroll through and preview the different looks that we have. I like the look of the Western. So let's have a look at that playing through. You'll notice that that look is only applied to one shot. Let's take that off for now. You select none. I'd also like to have some introduction text to the video. To do this, you can click on the T icon, and here there are a number of different text options that you have. They will preview a short animation at the bottom. I like the line title. To change the text, you click on the text in the window. You can remove the text here and then type in your own. So I'm going to type my garden. When it's done, you just click done. Now let's preview the text. That's a nice beginning animation. There are lots of other things that you can do, like adding looks to the entire project and also adding music as well. If you click on the small cog icon in the bottom right of the app, you can look at the project settings. Here we have a number of project filters that we can choose from. I liked the Western filter before, so I'm going to tap on that. I'm now going to select Done, and this applies the Western filter to all of my shots rather than just one like before. I may also want to add a soundtrack. To do this, I need to toggle the soundtrack on. I can then choose the different themes, from modern, bright and playful, to simple and to news. Let's have a listen to what bright might sound like. Select bright and hit done. Let's play it from the beginning. That might be too much action for this. Let's change it. Let's hear what symbol sounds like. That suits it much better. We'll keep that. You can also see that the simple music has been added to the timeline here as a waveform. You can also add a fade in from black and a fade out to black at the beginning and at the end of your video sequence. Let's toggle these on to see what they look like. Hit done. Now, if we go to the beginning, you'll see that the video fades in from black. And if we go to the end, the video fades out to black. We might want to add some text at the end that says "The End." When we're done, we click Done. And we can preview that. When we're happy with our project, we can click Done here on the top left. That will save the project together. We can also rename it. I'm going to call it My Garden. Hit Done. The last thing that we will need to do is we will need to save our video so that we can send it on for review. To do that, click on the Save icon, which is the middle icon at the bottom of the app. As well as sending the video to Instagram or Facebook, you can also choose to save the video, and this will save it to your camera roll. Click Save Video. You want to now choose the resolution of the video. HD 1080p will be a great quality, so select that. It might take some time to export your movie, so be patient. The movie was exported to your photo library. Click OK. If we now navigate to Photos, We can see it here. Now that you have learned more about photography and video for this badge, you have some tasks now that you've got to complete. This will help you build up a portfolio and also get more experience in photography and video. If you are doing the photography part of the badge, your task is to produce a portfolio of 12 photographs that demonstrate a number of different techniques. These can be portrait, landscape, still life, sports and action, or time-lapse. You should edit your photos using the Photor online piece of software or using the Lightroom app on your phone. When you've completed putting your portfolio together, you should email your portfolio to the email address that's coming up on the bottom of the screen. You should also include a short bit of information and description about your photos, what you enjoyed, any challenges that you overcame, and the techniques that you used to take your photos too. If you are doing the video part of the badge, your task is to produce 2 short videos. These can be on a variety of different subjects, from a documentary, a comedy, a drama, an advert, or a tutorial. They can be as simple or as elaborate as you like, and you can get creative with the stories that you come up with. A tutorial could be how to make a cup of tea or a meal, whereas a documentary might be looking at a day in the life of one of your family members or your pets. One thing that you will need to complete and send to us is also a storyboard for both of your short videos. These can be a simple 6x6 grid, or you can go into more detail depending on the shots that you're going to be using. When you've finished your filming, make sure that you use your iMovie app to put your video together and edit it. When you're all done, you can submit your videos and take a picture of your storyboard and send it to us, along with a short description of your 2 videos, any challenges that you had when you were filming, and any additional video techniques that you might have used. Make sure that you send this to the email address below. If you have any problems or questions with your tasks, you can always contact us. Use the email address provided here on the screen to get in touch, and I'll be more than happy to help you through with any questions. Good luck taking your photos and making your videos. We all look forward to seeing them.